Good morning. I'd like to welcome you on the webinar about Analytics 101, how to build a data-driven organization. Let's wait one more minute for people that are stuck in the traffic or still making coffee. Okay, so let's start. Good morning one more time. My name is Rafał Małanij, and I'll be hosting this webinar. I've been into IT, a few words about me. So I've been into IT for over 13 years, having various roles from project management, business development, sometimes pre-sales as well. I've been into data since the very beginning. Over time, this data field transformed a little bit into more cloud native and big data, and I'm also a little bit into genomics. You can remember me from different community events in Warsaw, in Poland. So I've been involved in PyData Warsaw, a few Cloud Native and DevOps Days conferences, and Data Science Summit. This webinar is hosted by GetinData. GetinData is a big data analytics company that was set up in 2014 by ex-Spotify engineers. And the idea behind the company was to focus 100% on data analytics and big data. Obviously, that was at the beginning just a Hadoop stack, but over the time, we've evolved into more cloud environments and more cloud native architectures. So the company has over 60 plus in big data engineers, and you can also meet us on the Big Data Tech Warsaw conference that we're co-organizing. So starting from the beginning, so digital transformation is a kind of a term that has been used recently in many contexts and doesn't really need to be explained anymore. Although its roots are in the 40s, it reached high publicity in the past 10 or 15 years. We have heard about like huge transformation programs, but unfortunately, we haven't heard about spectacular successes of these programs, at least as big successes as the budgets of these programs. Due to that, some CEOs actually lost their positions. Over the past few years, digital transformation is being coupled with gathering and analyzing data with terms like big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence. And I'd like to share some trends. Here's an excerpt from a Big Data and AI Executive Survey in 2020 that is run by New Vantage Partners. This year, there was an 8th edition of the survey. They have asked senior executives of 70 companies from Fortune 1000 about data and how these organizations extract value from this data. Disclaimer, 62% of these companies were the financial sector companies. So in 2020, the key question they sought to answer was how big data and AI investments are connected to tangible business outcomes. So you can see that in the first table that the pace of investment is decreasing over the time, but it's stable. So in 2019, there was like 99, almost over 90% of the respondents said that the pace is accelerating. Right now, it's just half of them. and 46% just says that it's a steady pace. We can interpret this and that these enterprises has learned on basically on their mistakes, and instead of doing rapid transformations, they focus on constant adoption, which is, generally speaking, a positive trend. There are more interesting trends that can be seen when we look at the state of big data and AI. We can see that companies take data seriously. Some of them even drive innovations with data, compete with data, but this is addressed only certain parts of the organization. The adoption actually is in the organizations very uneven. When we look at the data culture, we can see a decrease in adoption. So from 28 to 26%, which obviously should be increasing over the time. The percentage of data-driven organization is increasing, but it's far less than, for example, competing on data. The interesting part is in the table below, where some challenges of becoming data-driven organization are displayed. Technology has also the chance, like technology as a challenge, has decreased by 10 percentage points. So companies responders says that the technology is not really a challenge for them, while 9 of 10 respondents stated that the culture, business process, and people is actually the problem. So why these large digitization programs failed? There are so many reasons, but some of them are like too big investments, too big bet for the beginning, some external conditions, so the pace of changes, new challenges, like, for example, Amazon that holds a banking license and is also investing into healthcare, startups that might not be big challengers to like a direct competition to big players, but they change customer expectations and actually the rules of the game, like Revolut, like N26 in financial market. In UK, for example, in the past few years, there have been a few new banks set up. The industry might not be ready for change. And what is more, there are some new challenges in strategy implementation. For example, when investing like in a typical strategy change, managers are usually pretty clear about what they want to accomplish and what it will take to get there. In fact, with the new technologies, executives have to understand that technology has some impact on the market, on distribution channels and product services, and they cannot expect to have a very predictable outcome of that. When we talk in the context of data, it turns out that data analytics process doesn't start with the report, but with business strategy, a business initiative, and ideas how to measure that. So data acquisition, understanding the context of data, analyzing data and where we use the information, and how does this impact the strategy. We have this kind of feedback loop. Process orientation is a natural fit with these needs, but many have found process management like horizontally across silos and focusing customers difficult to reconcile with traditional hierarchical thinking. So instead of having a silos for certain businesses, we have to break this into more horizontal across silos initiatives. Robert Waterman in the 80s wrote that we actually live in a society that is rich with data, but information poor. And actually not much has changed over the time. In every organization, we generate tons of data, but we get relatively little information from them. What does it mean to be a data-driven? Data-driven company is an organization that on every level of organization is making data and it makes strategic decisions based on data analysis and interpretation of this data. In companies with strong data cultures, important decisions are informed by data and analytics, and executives act on insights derived from analysis rather than the intuition or experience. Data culture assumes that all decisions are based on information obtained from data analysis instead of like intuition, what I said before. It's even required that all decisions are backed or motivated by data. I've seen a statement that in such organizations, people are like 50%, process is 30%, and product tools is just 20% of the success. We can question obviously these statistics, but it actually shows the trend, or shows the importance of that actually everyone is involved in producing data, everyone should use it, and everyone is impacted by this data. If we follow this way of thinking, for example, this affects the data quality, how we look at the data quality. That data is being generated on the operational level, but actually everyone in the organization should develop an awareness of these activities that generates data and are used in decision-making processes. And these decisions will most likely also affect him or the way he should do his job. Another aspect is the interpretation of data in a specific area. I'm talking here about calculating and common understanding of measures like margin, for example, like sales margin. Every company has a different definition of sales margin. To give an example, it's much easier for the team responsible for acquiring leads to position their offering or to talk to the future customers, the prospects, if, for example, they know how what factors actually is influencing the margin, and, for example, LTV, so long-term value. It's much easier for them to understand what impacts these measures. When we talk about data culture, there's another important factor, an important aspect that has to be discussed, which is data democratization. So actually, the key aspect for data data-first mindset is the access to data. If you are to make data-informed decisions, then we must have access to it. Data democratization concept assumes that everyone in the organization has transparent access through appropriate infrastructure. So you have an access to data, you have access to tools, and access to knowledge how to use this data. We assume that actually the employees who have greatest knowledge about their area and can creatively approach the analysis. So they actually know what they're looking for. They just need tools and means to perform this analysis and, for example, combine data between areas, apply some visualizations, use new techniques. Nobody actually will be better to explain what is happening in a given area on the basis of data than the people that who work there directly. Thinking pragmatically actually would be almost impossible to designate a data scientist for every team. These questions obviously, or this also this approach also raises security questions. So by assumption, users should have an access to data, to the maximum amount of data, but we do not want always everyone to have access to this data on every level. So if there are certain areas that are more regulated, we want to be able to limit the access. And it's more like changing the approach from accessing people to access what they must have, what they need, to what they should not be able to access. Another strategy is to provide access to data at a certain level of abstractions, for example, like marketing measures, or like the measures, not the granular data. Looking at some examples, Airbnb in 2017, has run this data university program. It was a educational program for actually anyone at Airbnb to empower them to make data informed decisions. They believe that everyone in the company should be able to utilize data and to make better decisions. So so they run this this program, and they educated over 700 people. And what they saw, they saw an incredible like high increase in the amount of queries that were being performed on the platform. You can see that after the training, the utilization went from 10% to almost or to around 50%. So they have gained over time the stable increase of 30% of people that were accessing the data and making decisions based on the data. Another strategy assumes that data scientist team can be very close to business teams, and rotating between them depend on the project then they're working on. Thanks to these, they can use the area or the knowledge themselves, having statistical and programming knowledge. Actually, whatever you like it or not, each of us is a data scientist. Even by pasting several tables into your favorite spreadsheet tool and counting a few measures, we're actually dealing with data analysis, and we should know what we're doing. And actually, data literacy is the ability to read, understand, create, and communicate data as information. The numbers, just data, without context, are just numbers. When we add context, we get information. And when we generalize this information, we can present that as knowledge. And actually, what we want to use in our decision-making processes, we want to use information or knowledge, not just data. Data literacy is also an ability to question data, verify if data is correct and if the analysis process was correct, and that we have drawn the right conclusions. It is also an ability to communicate data and conclusions within the organization. Usually, if we have access to very large data sets, like appropriate infrastructure, there's not a lot of tendency to report everything from all perspectives, to publish all the measures we can get. But like in fact, only some subset of these measures has broader meaning to the organization and should be communicated. Data literacy is also an ability to judge what is worth reporting and what is not. For the entire process of culture change, it is also important to communicate how this data analysis helps. So, for example, if thanks to better qualification of cases or more personalized communication, we have reduced the number of calls at the call center, we should show it. We should communicate that to the organization that thanks to certain processes, we have reached some benefits and some gains. But also, analyzing data has also its dark side. Sometimes it may lead to hasty conclusions, like the common problem of correlation versus causation. So the problem means that even though there might be a strong correlation between some measures, actually there might be no direct causality. For example, on this chart, you have the correlation between divorce rate in Maine and consumption of margarine. Obviously, the correlation is pretty high, but I don't think there's a really causality between these two factors. In fact, in a correlation, if we look at the correlation, we have to be some kind of sure that there's one factor actually imply the other. And here's a book, How to Lie with Statistics, which is pretty interesting from the perspective of data storytelling. So showing how to analyze data, how to make the stories backed with data, and actually decision process made with backed by data. So you ask how to start working on data literacy in organizations. Typical dashboard seems to be a very good place, actually. Everyone knows that, and it's pretty straightforward to understand. Why it's a good tool for improving data literacy? First of all, it allows us to get people used to seeing data, because obviously dashboards present some charts, data, yeah, we can show that to people and help them use it. It allows actually to identify knowledge gaps, and if you find these knowledge gaps, you can build a suitable data literacy program. So to empower your colleagues, your employees, with the understanding what they're seeing on dashboards. What are the gaps? It also allows to start showing the impact of data on the business. So if you find this correlation between and you show this correlation between using data and the business effects, you automatically show that this is the good way to follow. But it's not about nice tables and colorful charts. It is also how it was deployed in an organization. So I think in this case, the method that Simon Sinek presented in his Start With Why book seems to be working pretty well. So first of all, if we deploy dashboards or analytic solution to the organization, to the colleagues, to the end users, we have to explain why this dashboard exists. What's the role of this dashboard? First of all, you have to find out and ask them why they want to use it. But when you're deploying that overall in the organization, first of all, explaining the reasoning behind making this analysis, making this dashboard is pretty important. Then, I made a mistake. There should be, on this diagram, should be what and how. So there's first there's why, then what is the dashboard? So what's the dashboard? What does it show? What's the decision-making process you are following, and this dashboard can help you. And finally, how to actually use this dashboard, how to use this tool. So the tool comes as the last part. New ideas actually require new methodologies. So lean management seems to be working perfectly here. Lean management or its implementation as the lean startup method is a value-oriented method of running business development projects. Its goal is to find the short way to achieve actually given vision. In this case, in the case of data, or in the case of developing data-driven organizations, the build, measure, learn approach seems to be the best approach. So you, because it's actually a business-driven hypothesis experimentation process. You run it. You formulate the batches of work, or you formulate what you want to achieve in small batches. So you avoid like a big projects. You avoid big bets and actually risk. You build MVPs, so minimum viable products. These are small pieces of products, small pieces of functionalities that gives actually real value. In data analytics, it's a very interesting topic. As apart from application, we have also data, and there's always the question if the data product that we're building that was tested on, for example, test data, is going to be working perfectly on the production data. Thanks to continuous deployment, we are able to deliver fast. So we're able to have a very fast feedback loop and test. So we design tests of our product, of our solution. We measure the output and learn. In case of data analytics, this process looks like this. It is a bit different to what normally is being used. So usually people use the process that consists of define, prototype, build and deploy step. In this case, we add a follow-up phase and we have a feedback loop. And so actually we have a loop. It's a kind of a loop, iterative loop. Obviously on define level, we define what we want to do, to what we what's going to be the product. Then we prototype it and build and deploy. During deploy, we can use this why, how, what approach. Approach. The differentiator is the follow-up step, where we actually can measure how frequently we can get follow-up. We can get feedback from the users. We can measure how frequently the solution is being used, how it's being used. It's even more interesting to check how the utilization of this tool correlates versus desired outcome. So, for example, if we have a dashboard, a tool for the sales team, if there's a correlation between frequency of usage and the revenue generated, or the same with this reporting for a call center, for example, or the better classification of the cases for the call center. If thanks to the more intensive usage of this product, we are achieving the goals of the organizations. For example, shortening the call with the customer, or not having a long waiting list. We can also collect qualitative feedback from users, like surveys, forms, but I suggest that one-on-ones discussions are one of the best to get the valid feedback. Once we know the feedback, we know what to improve, and we can go. We can start with definition of the improvement and follow the process. So as you can see, this is a loop, and this should run in a potentially short iterations. There's a nice example of this approach. A company, Holistics, there's actually they're working on data products, and some time ago they had an idea to create a tool for making diagrams of database schemas. So what they started, what they did, they had two interns that were assigned this task, and within the 2 months they created a first initial version of this tool. The goal of this project was actually not to be a kind of a standalone product because it was free. It was more about brand awareness and lead generation for the Holistics other products, other data products. What is very important that they were relying on feedback from the customers, and so they had a very automatic process of gathering feedback from the users, from the communities. They have published the roadmap of this tool, so everyone was aware what they were looking for, what they were working for, and could actually comment that. And within 1 year, without major investments into marketing and product management, they had over 200,000 users within 1 year. So pretty high growth, I would say. There's a very interesting blog on their blog post on their site when they share all the findings and the process, how they are working with data and working on the marketing of this product. So they use obviously content marketing, SEO, and a few influencers. But you can see on this slide how they approach the way to validate some hypothesis, for example. So they were measuring every step or every action, marketing action that was happening, and seeing if this is the way, and if this is the way to go forward. So they were asking themselves if, for example, this certain action is going to increase their growth, if this is going to get more people to know the product, if this will expand the market. After the action, they were measuring the output and feedback. So it was like a kind of iterational project where they were measuring every part of that, and you can see it on in this table. How they measured and correlated the success of certain marketing action or certain post or certain action. Another example is of data-driven organization is GitLab. I'm sure you know GitLab pretty well. It's a code repository tool, platform actually right now. And within the major goals of organization, major objectives of organization is to be a data-driven business. So basically everyone in the organization should work based on data. Actually, I really encourage you to go to their website and check how they're actually doing the data analytics. They have the whole design, they have the whole process described over there. So you can see the tools, you can see what they're measuring and how they act on data. In Poland, I don't know many companies that are data-driven organizations. Maybe because it's we're not very good in making or sharing publicly what we're having inside by companies. This is a post from Mick Griffin. Mick Griffin is a kind of growth manager of a couple of startups in Poland. And this is the post just after he moved to a new company, new startup, and he was sharing information about the tools he's going to use. He will going to use in a short time. So apart from CRM design tools, one of the most important tools he suggested was a heap tool. So the tool that was able to give him analytics. You can see that he like in this post he says that he managed to live only 4 or 5 days without being able to access this tool, the heap and data about the new startup he's going to work with. Why it is so important to be data driven and work with data. Actually, because the reality is the way we organize companies, we do business has changed. In the past, we had very predictable approach, so very established processes. The companies were working in a very predictable way, and that was actually low risk. So the companies that had better processes and they were better organized internally, they were actually leading the market. Today, the low risk means something different. So it's not about being very well organized. It's about being agile, able to adapt to changes, which means actually experimenting, able to accept failures, and the process of learning from failures. And yeah, you don't have to go into you have to transform into data-driven organization. As my favorite quotation writer, I would say, says, the survival is not mandatory. Okay, just to sum up, if you'd like to become a data-driven organization, and you want to like make your data available for all levels of organization, there are some certain requirements to the platform or to the environment, your data environment. You have to ensure in your company. So first of all, self-service analytics. So actually everyone in the organization should be able to do analytics by himself or herself. There's a concept of citizen data scientists. So people that are coming from business, but are skillful enough to use more advanced techniques like predictive, prescriptive analytics, but they're actually not statisticians or they're not technology IT people. Yeah, it would be kind of smart to enable these people to have an access to the tools that they need and make them get valuable insights. Continuous delivery, as you have to deliver fast on few changes, so people can actually be able to see the changes in their tools pretty quickly. If you have an idea today about how to change certain thing in your business process or in your analytics tool, we cannot wait like months to this change to be implemented. Data integrity. So you have to, because like you have all this data on different levels coming from different systems, you have to ensure that this data is actually in a very good quality and very good integrity between different ways you want to consume this data. So we have like two or three things we have to take into consideration. So like data accuracy. So if data is correct, data completeness, so if it's complete, and actually consistency. So if we can consume it from different places and they look the same, they are the same data. Use case driven. In this, I mean that developing or working a data platform is should be should be motivated by actually business and business use cases. So it's not about making a tool for the tool itself. It's more about enabling people to do what they want to do with technology. So that's a different story how to do that. But it has also the implications on how we're going to work with the business stakeholders and how technology should communicate and cooperate with the business. And last but not least, security. Security should not be an obstacle for people to use platform to people to use data, but should, on the other hand, be a part of the process of deploying or working on a platform, of developing the platform. Should ensure that actually the things that we want to share is available, but the things that we don't want to share is available to certain people only. So these are a few factors that you have to look at when you want to ensure that your data-driven organization has a correct or has a tool set to work on. So that's basically it. If you have any questions, I can answer that right now. If not, you can always find me. You can always email me, and yeah, we can have a discussion over the emails or different channels. Okay, if there are no much questions, thank you so much for attending, and I'm sure this webinar is going to be available online. So if you want to share it with your peers, your colleagues, just feel free to do that. As I said, you can find my email at the beginning of the webinar, or the beginning slides, and you can contact me directly. Thank you.